Hello everyone, my name is Brett. I'm a writer, author, book coach, and today we are talking about some of the biggest questions authors have when it comes to book development and planning. Question number one, how do I know if my idea is good enough? This is a great question. I deal with it. I think every writer probably deals with this question to some degree. Is our idea good enough? My main take with this is that ideas develop over time. Sometimes you got to put it in the crock pot and you got to let it marinate for a while. I typically like to let my ideas incubate. I think that they become better over time when you give yourself that thought, that process. I created a book. It's called The Storyteller's Almanac. It helps you make sure that that initial idea is really good enough, because you might have parts of an idea, a constellation of possibilities for a story. But how do you make sure that they're all tied together into something that is recognizable and good enough to, extend the 50, 70, 80, 90,000 words, to make it a full-length manuscript. So the Storyteller's Almanac is here to help you do that. But really, it's up to you. It's when do you feel like that idea is sufficient? But again, the Storyteller's Almanac is there to help you make sure that you're checking the boxes so that that idea has the legs, has the possibility, has the right foundation, that right level of maturity to make sure that it is ready to go and ready to write. Question number two, should I outline or should I pants it? Now, for those of you who aren't super familiar with the term pantsing, it means to write by the seat of your pants. That means you just open up the Word document and you just start typing whatever you want in there and just let the story flow from you. I have done it both ways. I have plotted stories pretty meticulously, and I've also pantsed them. I think whatever style works best for you is a style that you need to choose. It doesn't have to be either or. It's not one or the other. It can be both. It can be a little bit of pantsing. It can be a little bit of plotting, like, oh, I have this general idea for how it's going to go, and then you pants the rest of it. It's really finding a place where you feel comfortable, but mostly it's finding a place where writing is enjoyable to you, because some people get so bogged down in those details that writing just starts to become this like really heavy and complex, and I don't know, it feels like this major heavy lift, and that's not what it should be. The more fun you have with your writing process, the more fun the reader will have reading it. And so we need to find this balance, right? We need to find a place where we're enjoying writing, where we like plotting out kind of what's happening, but not so much that we get bogged down in the details and lose the fun of the process. It should be fun. It should be an interesting, exciting, and fulfilling process for you. So pantsing and plotting, it's kind of what works best for you, what fits best for you. That retains the structure and the important beats of the story, that you're getting that story out and you're structuring it well, but still having fun doing it. Question number three, how do I create compelling characters? Great question. I actually go into that a lot in the Storyteller's Almanac, so you can really dive into that book, into that content, and build. I actually create art like a scaffold essentially for building really interesting and compelling characters. But really, I have to, pull from, the GOAT, Brando, Sando. It really comes down to three main variables: agency, competence, and likability. You have to have a certain measure of all three. If they're your main character, they have to have agency. They have to be making decisions. They have to be driving the plot forward. The choices that they have to have like significance and meaning, and will completely divert the plot depending on what they choose. They also have to have some level of competency. Writers like the underdog. You don't want them to be too competent and too overpowered, because then it's boring. There are no real challenges or problems or anything like that. They have to have a little bit of competency, but plenty of room to grow over the course of the story. And then likability. And likability isn't like, oh, they're charming and they're fun. And, I think likability really comes down to, are they like me? Can I relate to them? Are the decisions that they are making logical and make sense, and I would make the same decisions? Because if they're not, if they're doing the most radical thing, or the choices that they're making doesn't follow a kind of logic and doesn't connect to their like emotional core and their emotional motivation, then it's like, okay, I don't know, this is not like me. I would not be making these decisions. I don't really understand this character. It's not for me. So agency, competency, likability, they have to have some degree of each of those. But though that is kind of a rough formula for creating a semi-compelling character, or at least the start of one. Another question when it comes to book development and planning, how do I build a livable, believable world? And that's a great question. Again, Storyteller's Almanac, we go all into world building with lots of very intentional questions that all should link to, your story core and the character journey and what's going on. But really, I think the design is in the details. The design is in the details. You want to make sure that your world has those small details, the little idioms, the cultural norms that you might encounter, making the world feel lived in. It reminds me of Star Wars and when they were building the Star Wars universe for the movies, and George Lucas told the model builders that he wanted to be able to see the rivets so you could have an idea of how these ships and like set pieces are made and put together. That's what you need in your story, even if it's as small as like color significance in cultures. Like I know that when I'm building cultures or world building or that kind of thing, I think about the culture, I think about where it came from, where its what its roots are, and how is that going to manifest in seen ways, but not necessarily expressed ways. Like, and that could be, greetings. It could be the sayings like I have this whole world that involves sky pirates and like sky ships and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the exclamatory phrases that they use are kind of based around that, like what in the four winds and things like that connect to this story world and what's going on in it and the plot and the setting and all that. But feel believable because it is connected to the culture, to the structure of that world. So I think it just has to connect. Storyteller's Almanac, we go into it big time. Ooh, this question is huge, and I think it's one of our a writer's biggest frustration. How do I avoid plot holes and inconsistencies? So when it comes to plot holes, I think it really starts from the structure. Do you have a well thought out and well planned story structure? Do you have that skeleton in there? Do you have that foundation laid? And again, Storyteller's Almanac, that's what this book is all about. It's all about helping you get there, helping you pour that foundation so that the story itself, the actual writing of it, makes sense, has flow, doesn't have these huge plot holes that then result in these costly rewrites or anything like that. The way that you avoid those plot holes and inconsistencies, I think you just have to really refine that vision from the start and make sure that everything that you're writing in there connects to that vision, connects to that story core. Storyteller's Almanac, we go all the way through it. It's that's what it's designed for. It's the Storyteller's Almanac is a book. It's a workbook designed to make sure that you are answering these questions well ahead of time, so that when you get to the actual writing of the story, you're not having those massive rewrites, those massive inconsistencies. It all starts with making sure that vision is mature, that it's well thought out, and that the characters, the world building, the set pieces, everything within the story all connects back. And then, of course, reading it, making sure that you are reading through it time and time again. I mean, even, after 10 years, I'm still writing stories and I'm like, oh, this character said this in this chapter, but that is contradicted by what they said in this chapter. We got to go back through and we got to reconcile these two things. It happens. It's a natural part of the writing process. The Storyteller's Almanac helps with that to make sure that you're keeping things consistent. But to a certain degree, you have to go back. You have to proofread. You have to have beta readers, alpha readers, editors, proofreaders, and do it yourself, because you're going to know the story the best and you're going to understand what consistencies you really want to make sure are clear.